Well, my name's Carol Montgomery. I'm a printmaker. I'm the vice chairman of the Helena Public Art Committee, and I'm a member of the Printmaking Guild, and we're set up here at the Holter for Open Studios. The matrix can be a piece of metal, like so, or a piece of linoleum, or a piece of wood. And we put ink on the matrix, we call them plates, and put a piece of paper on top and transfer the design that we've carved. So it's a little bit sculptural. And it's also, you have to think about whatever you're doing is going to be a mirror image too. So whenever I teach kids, they always want to do their name and it comes out backwards. You know, it's really funny. But most printmaking, except for silk screen, you get mirror images and or reverse images. So it's fun. You have to kind of think about it. It's really good for your brain when you're trying to plan things. You know, different multi-layer pieces. Once you've got the ink on, you've put the paper on. You could either apply pressure with a baren or a spoon, or you can run it through a press. We've got a very large Conrad press in the back here, which is fun to work with. And once we have applied pressure, we can pull the paper off, and you'll have a, I'll give you a nice bright one here. You'll have a print, and here's a print. You can see this is a series of little tiny copper plates. I don't know if you can see, but you can see the impression from the pressure. It's really fun to do. It takes a lot of planning. There's a lot of technological stuff you've got to master. Most of the types of printmaking that we do were invented to reproduce images for text. It's actually obsolete technology for reproducing images, kind of pre-photography type things. And artists have kind of taken it and run with it to create really interesting ways of making pictures. Well, it goes back to Albert Dürer making woodcuts to illustrate books, Bible. Well, initially the Bible, you know, like the first one of the first printed things that people did were Bibles, like the Gutenberg Bible. Well, people wanted illustrations. And pre-photography, artists were the cameras of the time. You know, they would draw, they would give you portraits. Many times people would go to foreign countries and draw and produce etchings or mezzotints or woodcuts, relief prints, and they would sell them as portfolios because they would show people what other places look like. You know, there was a market, especially in Europe where you had this rising middle class. They weren't the very wealthy, the nobility, but they had money to spare for works on paper and things to look at. So that kept on going. Now we have iPods, and it's the same thing, actually. You know, it's reproducing images for communication and entertainment. So this is just a more esoteric type of it. I did the initial plate many years ago, and I printed it, and then I dragged it out and printed again, and I tried some new stuff with it. It's a metal plate, and it's kind of nice because you can work on it the rest of your life. You can keep on doing things, and it's very interesting. You make new things, you recombine them, you change your style. It's a continual thing, a continual spectrum as an artist. Why did I like it? I think I saw my first etching relief print by Kathy Kollwitz when I was like 17, and I fell in love with it, and I've been doing it ever since. I just like the look of it. I also like the intellectual steps. The fact, I do a lot of painting, but I really enjoy printmaking because it's so interesting. It's very elaborate, and there's technical aspects that are always, you know, you can always master. So yeah, you can spend the rest of your life doing this particular type of art. It's an interesting intellectual exercise for me for translating feelings and ideas into visual images.
My name is Archie Broadbent. I'm co-owner of Signs Now here in Helena. This is our workshop. This is our OSE 350 GT machine. It's a UV printer. It allows us to print on any substrate, wood, metal, glass, anything flat up to 2 inches thick. Weatherproof. It'll last 10 years at least. Political signs, outdoor signs, metal signs, large-scale signs, life-size cutouts, coasters, business cards. You can really print anything on this. A large scale for photos. Yeah, if it's a photo, either someone will bring it in and we'll scan the photo, and then or ideally it'll just be a large-scale digital photo that we plug in and print. Or if someone needs a poster design, we do a lot of logo designs. Because when people come in to get a sign, they don't necessarily have a logo yet, because the sign usually comes pretty quickly to people who are starting a new business. So we've done quite a few logos, which can be an easy process or a hard process, kind of depending. Some people know exactly what they want, so you're just kind of setting it up for them, and other people have no idea what they want. So you have to really create a lot of, give them different ideas, and then kind of sort through what they like, what they don't like, narrow it down, give them a final logo and a sign. Or a lot of people just send us a PDF of a banner, and then we just output it to one of two machines, either to a rigid substrate like a foam board or a metal, or on a roll printer like paper or banner material. It's a giant printer, yep, that prints one sheet at a time. But I mean, we can print, we've done stuff for artists, a photograph of like hummingbird eggs. So it was literally a 1-inch square that was going to be inserted into artwork. So, something that big to a full 4x8 photo for some people who hang on their walls in their den and their, pubs at home or whatever. I mean, this is kind of our output device, or on our router too, which we can use to prototype boxes, cut business cards, cut vehicle graphics, custom shapes, anything you can imagine out of there. It'll cut anything but glass. I mean, we cut metal, steel, we cut anything on that. Well, especially with businesses, I mean, just from a standpoint is everyone needs a sign. It's a visual representation of what a business is. It can really stick with people. I mean, classic logos from the Nike swoosh. Signs are very important for that. And I mean, for obvious reasons of just telling people, hey, I'm here, to more elaborate, art stuff, and, personal touches in homes, interior decorating, just things like that, personalized for people, just customized. We don't do a lot of mass production. I mean, most of that's the political stuff, but, a lot of people come in and they'll just want something very specific for their kitchen, just something up above. So we do a lot of just nice little personal things for people.
I'm Andrea Atwood. I'm part of the Open Studios tour, and I'm an oil painter. And to make it a little bit more challenging, I do oil paintings on leaves, like the ones behind me. I find them and I press them, and they're crispy, crunchy, and I can't touch them while I paint them. And then when I'm done, I frame them, and I detail the frames out myself. And once they're framed, they're permanent. They won't break. And then I'm also a fiber artist. I was a costume designer at the University of Montana for the theater department, and that then developed into doing wall hangings and quilts and using art to combine it with fabrics. Leaves are difficult to do because they're crispy and crunchy, and also because there's a lot of veins in there. So if you're drawing a straight line, you'll hit a lump, so you have to fight that. You can't draw it ahead of time. You have to just start in the middle and start painting and kind of hopefully assess that you've got it to be the right size by the time you're done. And I can't touch it while I'm working with it. I have to just use the brush and keep my fingers off of the leaf so it doesn't break. And I also do animal portraits like this, but also pet portraits. A lot of the veterinarians in town have my work, and they offer my services for people that have to euthanize their dog or cat or pet so that they have a nice remembrance of the animal. The other kind of art that I do is I call fiber art, because I combine a lot of different things, not just fabrics. This is a new technique that I've tried, and it involves taking and cutting up the fabrics into little tiny matchstick pieces, and then laying them out and trapping it under netting. And then I bought a box of 100 pins, and I would put all 100 pins in one section. And pin it all down, and then I would do a meandering stitch over the whole piece with a clear thread to hold it all in place. I enjoy it. It's kind of fun. I'll look in the evenings at magazines and pictures and different things and look for inspiration, and then I get up and try to find a way to bring or interpret that picture in either oil painting or the fabric. I was a student of Becky Eicher's, and she had us trying different things like fabric, working with fabrics, and we did pottery and we did painting, and that's kind of how I got started. And I was a little kid and I already did dimensional pictures, whereas a lot of second and third graders will do stick figures. So you could already see that I lean towards an artistic ability. This piece is a design that I made for the Helena Quilt Guild raffle quilt, and the members helped me do the outside, sewing all the pieces together, and then I designed the center. And this piece will be raffled off in May at the quilt show that will be in the Civic Center. I like to take items and recycle them. Like, I will get my fabrics at Goodwill, or if somebody has a neat skirt, there's a lot of fabric in a skirt, and try to use that piece over and over. And like this particular piece, I've used my grandmother's jewelry, and I found an old frame and then refinished the frame. I will take bits and pieces of necklaces and take them apart and put them into other pieces to make it sparkle. And my son-in-law challenged me and said, "What can you do with this, Mom?" So I created hardware and software, this being the software, and everything that's on here is sewn with a sewing machine, including the beads, and all of the parts of the computer are sewn on there. And when I showed it to him, he was disappointed, because when you flip the switch, nothing happens. But people are really kind of entertained by the piece, and I think that's part of art too, should be entertaining and fun. Then this again is one of those pieces where I sliced the fabric into little tiny matchsticks and used it like paint to paint the layers of the piece and get a dimensional look with it. The other pieces were an experiment